Here's a common question that I'm sure you've heard all the time. Question from Doki Doki SFT Fan Club. I appreciate it. Doki says, but genocide in the Old Testament is God a moral monster, as in how the skeptics or atheists will point to what they believe are atrocities in the Old Testament and say this can't be, the true God. How would you best way to respond, Frank?
We have plenty of responses to this on our YouTube channel. I'll give you a short answer. Whenever somebody asks me, is God a moral monster in the Old Testament? I say, by what standard are you judging God? Because if you're an atheist, you don't have an objective standard. Nothing's right or wrong, because if God doesn't exist, then there's no standard other than your own opinion. But it is a good question for an atheist to ask a Christian by saying, look, it appears to be a problem for your worldview, Mr. Christian. You claim Christianity is true, but you have God in the Old Testament doing things which appear to be immoral. Okay, fair question for an atheist to ask a Christian about his own worldview. And here is a short response to this. Number one, when God kills people in the Old Testament, does he do it on a whim, or does he give reasons for why, say, the Canaanites needed to get pushed out of the land and maybe even killed? He gives reasons, right? In other words, this is not genocide, this is judgment. There were 400 years of iniquity, the scriptures say, that these people had been doing abominable things. In fact, one of them, of course, was sacrificing their children to the molten hot metal god known as Molech. They're literally putting their kids on this idol's arm and watching the kid burn to death. In fact, Plutarch, who was a Greek writer in the 1st century, talks about this. This isn't just in the Bible. This is actually in Greek writers. They say that Plutarch said that the town drummers would drum louder when they were sacrificing children to Molech, so the parents of the kids wouldn't hear the screams of their own children. Now, Donnie, on every college campus I go to, I hear atheists saying, well, if there is a good God, why doesn't he stop all the evil in the world?
Right.
Well, here's a situation in the Old Testament where God says, that's it, stop this, get rid of these people, kick them out of the land, and if they don't go, kill them. And atheists are complaining about it, right? They're saying, well, God's going to stop this evil? Now, what they will say is, well, God's goes too far. He tells to kill the women and the children, right? Okay. Well, there's two answers to this. Depends on which view you take. The traditional view that many people take is these were literal commands for God. God said, wipe everybody out. Okay. And if that's the case, here's the question we need to ask. When God kills someone, is it murder for God? The answer is no. When God kills someone, it's not murder for him. Maybe murder for us, but it's not murder for him. In fact, if God exists and he controls our lives, he kills all of us at a certain point. Right. And it's up to God when he takes us out. Look, if Christianity is true, people don't die, they just change location. They go from this life to the next life. And it's up to God when that happens. It's not up to us. It's up to God when that happens. If he wants to take us out at 2 years old or 82 years old, that's up to him. Okay? And as I mentioned earlier, it's not genocide, it's judgment. In fact, God did the same thing to Israelites who worshiped the golden calf. So it wasn't like God was saying, this is sort of a racial thing. We got to get rid of these Canaanites. No, he was saying that this is a moral issue. These people are so morally debauched that if we don't get them out of the land, we're not going to be able to get the promised people in the promised land to bring forth the promised Messiah. And so he warned them. He pushed them out of the land, and those that remained were killed. But as you well know from the scriptures, Donnie, not all of them were killed, because after it says something like, we wiped out everybody, you see these people popping up again later in the scriptures.
Right.
That's the first view. The second view is the view Paul Copan takes, and I'm sure you've probably seen Paul's book. This is it. Yeah, Is God a Moral Monster? Great book to read. What Paul says is that these commands were ancient Near East hyperbole, meaning this is the kind of language that was used at that period of time to say, defeat them soundly. But it wasn't literal. And how does he know it wasn't literal? Because if you look at Deuteronomy chapter 7, it says, wipe everybody out. And in the next verse it says, and then don't intermarry with them. And you go, wait a minute, time out. If everyone's wiped out, why would you have a command after that to not intermarry with them? If they're wiped out, there's nobody to marry. And so Copan talks about this, and indicates that these commands, in his view, were hyperbole. Whether they're hyperbole or not, either view you take, you can show that God is not immoral for judging people.
Amen. Amen. Another great, very informative answer, Frank. You're a walking encyclopedia. I like the way you put it, where we don't really die. We're just moved from one location to the next. And I've been using that for years, because when I first heard that from you, that just made a lot of sense in so many ways. And you answered a number of questions actually in that one response, especially the question of evil. So I appreciate that. So
as a quick reminder to everyone, hit that like button. It actually does help. Team Standing for Truth is out.